You're too loud, too desperate to explain yourself to people who aren't even listening. That's your problem. You think if you talk enough, they'll understand. If you defend yourself enough, they'll back off. But that's not how it works, kid. The louder you get, the weaker you seem. See? They want a reaction. That's the whole game. They poke and prod, hoping you'll snap so they can point and say, "See? We were right about you." You're playing right into their hands and you don't even see it. Look around. Look real close. The ones who bark the loudest usually got the weakest bite. They live for chaos, feed on it, need it like air, because without it, they got nothing, just empty shells pretending to matter. They build their little sandcastles of lies and watch you scramble to knock them down. But here's the secret. You don't have to. Just stand back, keep quiet, and watch the tide roll in. The truth's got a funny way of surfacing no matter how deep they try to bury it. You think silence is weakness, don't you? That if you don't defend yourself, they'll win. But silence, real, controlled silence, is a weapon sharper than any word. It's a mirror, forcing them to see the ugliness in their own reflection. They'll tear themselves apart trying to figure you out. You don't have to lift a finger. Just fold your arms, lean back, and watch the fireworks. You're wasting energy trying to fix what's already broken. Some people, they got rot in their bones. No amount of reasoning's gonna change that. They don't want to understand. They want to control, to break you down until you start to believe their lies. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. That's how parasites work. They latch on and drain you dry, leaving you hollow and empty. So cut them off, cold and clean. Let them choke on the silence. Reactions give them power. That look in your eyes when they spit their poison, that's what they live for. Your anger, your frustration, your pain. It's all fuel for their little infernos. Starve them. Smile if you have to. Or stare right through them like they're already ghosts. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the way you live your life. Let them talk. Words are cheap. Actions, though, those leave scars. So stop explaining and start showing. You want to survive this world? Learn the power of silence. Real power doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove itself. It just is. The lion doesn't concern itself with the opinions of sheep. You're out here trying to prove you're not the villain they paint you as. But let me tell you a secret, kid. If they've already made up their minds, nothing you say is gonna change that. So stop wasting your breath. Think of it like chess. You don't see the king rushing across the board to prove he's the king, do you? Number, he moves slow, deliberate. Every step, a calculation. Meanwhile, the pawns rush forward, throwing themselves into the fight, desperate and disposable. You gotta think like the king. Let them tire themselves out trying to get to you. Make them work for every inch. And when they're exhausted, when they're stumbling and confused, that's when you strike, but not a second before. See, most people, they're predictable. They want to be heard, want to be seen, want to matter. That's their weakness. You, though, you can be different. You can be the silence that unnerves them, the question they can't answer, the storm that never breaks. You can be the thing that keeps them up at night, wondering, guessing, tearing their hair out, trying to figure you out. That's real power. Not in the noise you make, but in the quiet that follows. It's funny, really, how they dig their own graves trying to bury you. How they expose their own insecurities trying to drag you down. Let them. The truth has a way of bubbling up, slow and ugly. No matter how hard they try to shove it under, you just gotta be patient. Bite your tongue till it bleeds if you have to, but don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you break. Patience, kid. That's the game. Bide your time. They'll destroy themselves, trying to get a reaction out of you. People like that. They're living on borrowed time. Lies, betrayal, fake smiles. It all comes with a price. Sooner or later the mask slips. Sooner or later the whole house of cards comes crashing down. All you gotta do is keep your hands clean and wait. That's the part they never tell you about revenge. The sweetest kind is the one you don't even have to lift a finger for. The one where they trip over their own schemes and fall face first into the mess they made. All you gotta do is stand back, cross your arms, and let them burn. No rage, no outbursts, no desperate speeches, just cold, unblinking silence. You're not weak for walking away. You're not a coward for refusing to play their games. It takes strength to hold your tongue when every nerve in your body screams to fight back. It takes power to look them dead in the eyes and say nothing. Let them think they've won. Let them have their little victories. The real war is long and slow and brutal, and most people don't have the spine for it. You've got that spine. You've taken the knives in the back and pulled them out without flinching. You've heard the whispers, the lies, the accusations, and you're still here, still standing. That says something. Most people would have folded by now, crawled back, begged for mercy, but not you. That's why they hate you, you know, because you refuse to break, refuse to kneel. They can't stand it. Can't stand that no matter what they throw at you, you just keep coming back. Colder and quieter each time. So be quiet, kid. Be patient. Let them keep talking. Keep scheming. Keep digging. Sooner or later, they'll dig their own graves. And when they're buried, neck deep in the consequences of their own actions, you can finally smile, quiet, cold, and satisfied. Because by then they'll know. They'll know that silence was never weakness. It was a warning. That's the thing about silence. They never see it coming. They're so used to noise, to chaos, to people screaming back when they get pushed. But when you don't flinch, when you just stare them down with that cold, unblinking gaze, it gets under their skin. It makes their fingers twitch. makes them stumble over their own words, because they expect you to fight, to scream, to justify yourself. When you don't, it forces them to fill the silence with their own guilt, their own fears, their own pathetic insecurities. That's when they start to unravel, bit by bit, thread by thread, trying to convince themselves they're still in control. But the truth is, the second you stopped playing their game, they lost all control. And deep down, they know it. That's why they keep pushing, because they need to hear you break, need to hear you snap and prove them right. But you won't, will you? No. You'll keep that stone-cold silence, that unnerving calm that leaves them staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering what's going on behind those eyes of yours. Because the loudest screams are the ones never heard, and the most dangerous people are the ones who've mastered the art of saying nothing at all. See, they're betting on your need to be understood, to clear your name, to set the record straight. That's the hook they dangle in front of you, shiny and tempting, hoping you'll bite. They want you to stand there, red-faced and desperate, spilling your soul to ears that stopped listening a long time ago. But you're smarter than that, aren't you? You know that explanations are just traps, little snares disguised as olive branches. The more you explain, the guiltier you sound. The more you defend yourself, the more you look like you've got something to hide. So you stay quiet. You let them talk. Let them spin their little webs of lies and half-truths. Because while they're busy running their mouths, you're watching, waiting, memorizing every slip, every crack, every little inconsistency. That's the difference between you and them. They talk to fill the silence, but you thrive in it. They burn themselves out, trying to be heard, and you're just there, patient and cold, letting them dig deeper graves with every word. Most people can't handle silence. Makes them squirm, makes them uncomfortable. It forces them to think, and most people would rather tear themselves apart than spend 5 minutes alone with their own thoughts. But not you. No. You've been alone with your thoughts long enough to know that silence isn't the enemy. It's a weapon. It's the scalpel that cuts through the lies, the mirror that shows people the monsters they really are. You've seen it, haven't you? How they start fidgeting, start stuttering when you just stare back without a word. How their voices get higher, quicker, more desperate to fill the void. It's almost funny, in a dark, twisted way. Watching them unravel while you're just there, arms crossed, eyes cold, saying nothing at all. That's real power, kid. Not in how loud you can scream, but in how quiet you can stay when the whole world's trying to get a rise out of you. You think revenge is about getting even, about making them hurt the way they made you hurt. But real revenge, the kind that sticks, the kind that haunts them long after the dust's settled, that comes from silence, from walking away without looking back, without giving them the satisfaction of seeing you bleed, because nothing's more infuriating to them than realizing they never mattered enough to break you, that all their schemes, all their whispers and knives in the dark didn't even warrant a response. That's what keeps them up at night, the not knowing, the wondering if you're out there, watching, planning, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. And maybe you are. Or maybe you've moved on, left them to rot in their own guilt and paranoia. That's the beauty of silence. They'll never know for sure. And that uncertainty, that creeping dread, that's what destroys them in the end. They think they've got you figured out. Think they've won just because you stopped arguing, stopped explaining yourself. They think silence means defeat, that you've given up. But you and I both know that silence is just strategy. It's the calm before the storm, the inhale before the blade comes down. You're not done, not by a long shot. You're just watching, waiting, memorizing every move they make, every flaw, every weakness. Because when you do strike back, it won't be in anger or desperation. It'll be cold, calculated, surgical. No wasted words, no messy emotions, just quiet, brutal efficiency. And by the time they realize what's happening, it'll already be too late. That's the power of silence. It gives you the time to plan, to prepare, to turn every little slight and insult into ammunition. They'll never see it coming because they're too busy gloating, too busy convincing themselves they've won. But you're patient. You can wait. Because revenge isn't about speed, it's about precision. You've been quiet for a long time now, biting your tongue, swallowing the anger, letting them think they've got the upper hand. But silence doesn't mean peace. It's the pressure building behind the dam, the bullet in the chamber, the knife in the sheath. Just because you're not screaming doesn't mean you're not dangerous. No, it's the opposite, really. The quiet ones, the ones who can take the hits without flinching, who can smile with blood in their teeth. They're the ones you gotta watch out for. Because when they finally do snap, it's not wild or reckless or loud. It's cold and calculated and final. No second chances, no mercy, no long-winded speeches about why they did it. Just action, clean, silent, and absolute. So, keep your mouth shut. Let them think they've won. Let them laugh and pat each other on the back and toast to your downfall. Smile if you have to. Nod along. Play the part. Because every word they speak, every smug grin and whispered lie is just another inch of rope they're wrapping around their own necks. All you gotta do is wait for them to pull it tight. And they will. They always do. People like that. They can't help themselves. They self-destruct eventually. Just takes a little time and a lot of silence. So stand back, keep your hands clean, and watch it burn. Because by the time the flames die down, there won't be anything left of them but ashes and regret. And you, well, you'll still be standing there, quiet and unbroken, with that cold little smile that says it all. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Watching them claw at their own throats, suffocate on their own lies, all while you're standing there without a scratch. They thought silence meant surrender, but it was a trap all along. See, the thing about words is, once you let them out, you can't take them back. They're evidence, ammunition, something they can twist and turn and use against you. But silence, that's untouchable. No loose ends, no contradictions, no strings for them to pull. Just a blank space that they can't fill, no matter how hard they try. It drives them mad, not knowing what you're thinking, not being able to get a rise out of you. They need that reaction, need it like a junkie needs a fix, because it makes them feel in control. So when you give them nothing, no anger, no fear, no explanations, it's like pulling the rug out from under their feet. They start to doubt themselves, start to question if they ever had any power at all. And that's when they slip, when they start making mistakes, exposing cracks in their own armor. All you have to do is wait for the right moment to strike. But here's the trick. When that moment comes, you don't strike loud. No dramatic speeches, no declarations of vengeance. You strike quiet, fast, and lethal, like a shadow with a blade. No warnings, no mercy, just a clean cut that leaves them bleeding before they even realize they've been hit. That's how you win. Not by screaming the loudest or hitting the hardest, but by being the ghost they never saw coming. By making them pay for every insult, every betrayal, in a silence so deafening it drowns out their screams. Because the thing about silence is, it lingers. Words fade, get twisted, forgotten. But silence, real silence, that stays. It echoes. It haunts. And by the time they realize what it really meant, it's already too late. You think you need to defend yourself, to explain why you are the way you are, why you did what you did. But you don't owe them a damn thing. Not your reasons, not your excuses, not your guilt. They weren't there when you were bleeding, when you were clawing your way out of the dark with cracked nails and broken bones. They didn't see the nights you spent staring at the ceiling, chest heavy with silence that felt like it could crush you whole. They only see the surface, the mask, and they think that gives them the right to judge. But the truth is, they wouldn't survive a day in your skin. They'd break, fold, shatter into 1,000 pieces if they had to live with your memories, your scars, your silence. So let them talk. Let them call you cold, heartless, ruthless. Wear those names like armor, because they're better than the truth. The truth is, you're tired. Tired of explaining, of defending, of bleeding, for people who wouldn't cross the street to pull you out of the fire. So stop explaining. Stop defending. Let them make their assumptions and choke on them. You've got nothing to prove. See, you keep trying to make them understand, but the truth is, they don't want to. Understanding would mean admitting they were wrong, admitting they were cruel, and most people would rather die than face that mirror. So they twist it around, paint you as the villain to make themselves feel better. But villains, heroes, monsters, that's all just stories they tell themselves to sleep at night. The truth is a lot simpler and a hell of a lot uglier. There are no villains, no heroes, just people, scared and desperate, trying to claw their way out of the dark by stepping on whoever they can. And the sooner you stop waiting for them to understand, the sooner you can move forward without looking back. Let them live in their little fairy tales, with their black and white morals and their twisted justifications. You've got bigger things to deal with than their approval. You know what's funny? They spend all that time trying to make you feel alone, like you're the problem, like you're the broken one. But the truth is, they're terrified of ending up like you, alone, quiet, unbroken. Because if you can survive without their approval, without their validation, then what does that say about them? About all the lies they tell themselves to get through the day? That's why they hate you. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to walk away. Because you can live with the silence, while they can't go 5 minutes without screaming into the void, desperate to be heard. You make them look in the mirror and see what they really are. Scared little children, screaming into the dark and hoping someone, anyone, will tell them they're enough. But you don't need that, do you? You've built a home out of the silence. Learn to thrive in it, to wear it like a second skin. And that terrifies them more than anything. It's almost poetic, how they destroy themselves trying to destroy you. How they lose sleep, lose friends, lose pieces of themselves trying to get a reaction. Meanwhile, you're out here collecting scars like trophies, wearing them with a smile that's a little too cold, a little too sharp. You've stopped trying to explain, stopped trying to make them see, and that's what really gets them. Because as long as you were defending yourself, they could pretend they had power. But now they're just shouting into the wind, voices hoarse, hands bloody from beating at a door that'll never open. And you're already miles away, eyes forward, silence trailing behind you like a shadow. They think silence means you've got nothing to say, but they couldn't be more wrong. You've got plenty to say. Truths sharp enough to cut, memories that could tear them to pieces. But you keep it all locked behind tight lips, not out of weakness, but out of mercy. Because the truth is, if you ever really spoke, if you ever really let them see the darkness you've been holding back, it would break them. And maybe, just maybe, you're tired of breaking things. Maybe silence is the only mercy you've got left to give. Or maybe you're just waiting for the right moment to burn it all to the ground. Either way, they'll never know. That's the beauty of it. Of silence, of shadows, of keeping your cards close to your chest. They'll spend the rest of their lives wondering what you really meant, what you really wanted, what you really could have said if you'd ever decided to speak. And when they finally break, when the guilt and the lies and the silence gets too loud to ignore, when they come crawling back, eyes hollow and hands shaking, begging for an explanation, you'll just smile. A cold, empty smile that doesn't reach your eyes, and you'll walk away without a word. Because by then, they'll already know. That silence was never surrender. It was never defeat. It was a warning. And now, it's far too late to heed it. And that's the thing, isn't it? By the time they realize what your silence really meant, they're already neck deep in the mess they made, flailing, choking on their own regrets. They'll replay every conversation, every cold stare and tight-lipped smile, trying to decipher the warning signs they ignored. It'll keep them up at night, eyes bloodshot and breaths shallow, staring at ceilings and cursing the silence that echoes louder than any scream. Because that's what they never understood. Words can lie, but silence is honest, brutally so. It doesn't dress itself up in fake smiles or sweet nothings. It just is. And when you stopped defending yourself, stopped trying to explain, that's when they should have started worrying. But they didn't. They laughed, slapped each other on the back, told themselves they'd won. And now, they've got nothing left but ashes and questions that'll never be answered. That's the real revenge. Not the blood, not the bruises, but the not knowing. The way it'll eat at them, little by little. Every silence a reminder that they never really knew you at all. They'll ask around, whisper behind closed doors, try to piece together the puzzle with bits and scraps, but it won't matter. They can dig and dig, but the truth's buried too deep, tangled in shadows and locked behind eyes that stopped caring a long time ago. And that's the part that'll really kill them. The realization that they were never the hunters. They were the prey all along, and you, with your cold eyes and quieter than grave silence, you were just watching, waiting, letting them think they had the upper hand while the noose slowly tightened around their necks. You see, the best way to destroy someone isn't to fight them head on. It's to let them destroy themselves, to step back, fold your arms, and let their own guilt, their own insecurities, do the work for you. People like that, they'll hang themselves if you give them enough rope. They'll push and lie and twist the knife, all the while thinking they're winning, never realizing the trap's already been set. All you gotta do is keep quiet, keep cold, Let them talk themselves into corners they can't get out of. They'll accuse you of being heartless, ruthless, call you a monster with that wild look in their eyes. And maybe they're right. Maybe you are a monster. But at least you're an honest one. At least you don't pretend to be anything else. Because that's the thing about monsters. They don't need to explain themselves. They don't need to justify why they did what they did, why they walked away, why they left a trail of silence and burned bridges behind them. They just do what needs to be done, cold and efficient, and leave the pieces for someone else to pick up. And maybe that makes you the villain in their story. But who cares? Villain, hero, it's all the same lie, dressed up in different words. All that matters is that you're still standing, still breathing, still moving forward. They can keep their stories, their black and white fairy tales and hollow apologies. You've got better things to do than rewrite the past for people who never really wanted to understand. And that's the difference between you and them, isn't it? You stopped looking back a long time ago, stopped staring at the ruins and the ashes and wondering if things could have been different. You know better. Some things can't be fixed, can't be saved, can't be forgiven. You learned that the hard way, learned it with bloody knuckles and sleepless nights, and the kind of silence that carves scars into your bones. So you stopped explaining, stopped apologizing for who you are, for the choices you made, for the bridges you burned. Because the truth is, some people don't deserve explanations. Some people don't deserve closure. Some people deserve to choke on the silence they left behind. And they will. It might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but eventually, the lies catch up. Eventually, they'll look around at the empty rooms and the echoing halls and realize that they're alone. That every backstab, every whispered betrayal, every little game they played drove away the only people who might have cared. And when that happens, when the guilt and the loneliness and the silence finally close in, they'll try to come back. They always do, with eyes downcast and voices cracking. They'll stammer apologies that mean nothing, explanations that fall flat. They'll tell you they've changed, that they're sorry, that they didn't mean it. But by then, it's too late. You've moved on, built walls too high to climb, and all their words just bounce off cold stone. Because that's the thing about betrayal. It's a one-way street. Once the knife's been buried, there's no pulling it back out. You'll see it in their eyes. That moment they realize you're done playing their game. That the silence isn't a pause, isn't a breath, but a door slammed shut. That they can scream and beg and plead all they want. But you're not listening. You've made peace with the silence, built a throne out of it, and no amount of apologies is going to tear that down. That's when they'll really start to break. Not when you screamed, not when you fought, but when you turned away without a word, eyes cold, and steps steady. Because silence, real silence, is a kind of death. It's the end of the line, the point of no return, the final nail in the coffin. And some people, they'd rather bleed themselves dry than face it. But not you. No, you're different. You've seen enough, bled enough, lost enough to know that some things are better left buried, that some people don't deserve the satisfaction of knowing what they did, how deep the knife went, how long it took for the wounds to stop bleeding. Let them wonder. Let them lie awake, turning over every word, every cold stare, every unanswered call. Let them drown in the silence they created. You've got no obligation to save them, no reason to look back. You gave them chances, gave them explanations, gave them more mercy than they ever deserved. And they spat on it, laughed, twisted the knife deeper with every fake smile and hollow promise. So now, you give them nothing. No closure, no answers, no second chances, just silence, cold, endless, and absolute. And maybe that makes you cruel. Maybe that makes you heartless. But it also makes you free. Free from the lies, from the games, from the endless cycle of betrayal and apologies that never meant a damn thing. Free to move forward, eyes cold and spine straight, without dragging the weight of their guilt behind you. And isn't that what they're really afraid of? That you never needed them, never needed their validation, never needed their fake smiles and empty words, that you're better off alone, that you're stronger for the silence, for the scars, for the bridges you burned without a second thought. That's why they hate you. That's why they whisper and point and try to drag you back into their little games. Because if you can survive without them, if you can thrive in the silence, then maybe they're the ones who were weak all along. So keep walking. Let the silence stretch long and dark behind you. Let the bridges burn to ashes. Let the whispers and accusations fade into static. You've got nothing to prove, nothing to explain, nothing to apologize for. You've seen the worst they have to offer and came out the other side, colder, harder, stronger. And that, kid, is all the revenge you'll ever need. Hello, my dear mastermind. They don't admit it out loud, but every room you walk into feels it before you even greet anyone. That steady shift, that quiet pause that hits like the world just took a breath for a moment. That's the instant they realize you've already understood the whole situation before they even speak. People think intuition is some soft skill. But yours is a different creation entirely. It's not a guess. It's not a vibe. It's not some lucky feeling. It's a system you built through difficulty, heartbreak, disappointment, getting caught off guard, watching people switch when you least expected it, losing what you trusted, and rebuilding your instincts from the ground up. You didn't wake up with this. Life shaped you into this. And now it unsettles them, because you don't wait for evidence. You don't wait for their tone. You don't wait for their excuses. You read the air, the shift in their breathing, the hesitation in their eyes, the way they hold their words. You catch the meaning behind the meaning. You sense the plan inside the silence. And that's why they label you different. That's why they study you when they think you're not watching. That's why they whisper about how you always know things before they unfold. They don't understand the price you paid to gain this awareness. They don't understand the nights you stayed awake replaying conversations in your mind until patterns became obvious. Until your soul learned how to identify something untrue before it even formed. They don't understand how many times you trusted the wrong faces and had to carry the weight of that mistake quietly. They don't know that your intuition was born from wounds that healed into antennas. And now you walk around like you have some built-in radar. You're the one who sees intentions before actions. You're the one who hears truth inside the pauses. You're the one who feels energy before words. You're the one who stays quiet, listening to everything they're not saying. And it's confusing them because they don't know how you do it. They don't know how you catch the smallest shift, like it was a shout. They don't know how you see through their smiles like glass. You've become the person people avoid misleading. Not because they're honest, but because your intuition reveals things instantly. And the wildest part? You don't even try. You just know. And now everyone's starting to call you exactly what you became. The one who understands. You ever notice how people act different around you before a single word leaves your mouth? Like the energy in the room adjusts first, and then they adjust with it. That's because your presence isn't just physical anymore. It's perceptive. It's observing. It's decoding. People can't hide their real intentions when someone like you steps in. Their energy spills before they can tighten the lid. Their motives show before they can polish their expression. And that unsettles them more than they'll ever admit. Because they can fool everyone else with small talk, with surface-level emotions, with practiced smiles and half-hearted compliments. But they can't fool you. Not anymore. You've seen behind the curtains of too many people. You've witnessed how quickly a supposed supporter turns into someone working against you. The moment you start outgrowing the version of you they were comfortable with. You've watched how people suddenly become distant when you stop giving them the attention they relied on. You felt the shift when their words said one thing, but their spirit said something completely different. And now, your intuition catches that difference instantly. That's why some people can't look you in the eyes for too long. That's why they get tense when you fall silent. That's why they overshare details you didn't even ask for. Because your silence feels like a scan. Your presence feels like awareness. And your intuition feels like truth knocking the disguise out of their voice. You're not psychic. You're observant in a way that unsettles anyone who relies on confusion to guide their surroundings. You pay attention to the tone they use when they say your name. You catch the way someone's smile fades a little too fast when you mention your wins. You feel the tension they try to cover with jokes. You hear the envy they dress up as advice. You sense the disappointment they try to hide when your progress outshines their expectations. And that level of perception makes you the most unpredictable person in their story. Because they don't know what you know, but you know exactly what they're trying to hide. You see, intuition like yours doesn't grow in peace. It grows in situations that require awareness. It grows in rooms where you weren't safe to be trusting too quickly. It grows after experiences you weren't supposed to recover from. It grows after moments that forced you to develop vision on the back of your spirit. That's why your intuition feels different. It's built from experience, not mystery. It's shaped by moments that tried to break you, but didn't. And now, every step you take, every room you enter, every conversation you overhear, gets filtered through a mind that sees deeper than anyone else at the table. You walk around carrying a blueprint of people's real intentions while they're still trying to assemble their disguise. You're the one who knows. And that's why they worry about disappointing you even more than they worry about being exposed. You ever notice that small hesitation before they speak to you now? That flicker in their eyes, like they're searching for the right version of themselves to present? That hesitation is concern. Not of you visually, but of being viewed clearly by you. Because your intuition doesn't read the surface, it reads the source. It catches the micro expressions they can't rehearse. The tone shifts. They can't practice. The energy changes. They can't hide. Most people think intuition is guesswork, but yours is a database, a living archive. Every disappointment trained it. Every shift in loyalty sharpened it. Every false smile, every hidden agenda, every moment of misalignment. Your intuition stored the pattern, and now you move through life with an internal guide that identifies intention before action. People feel this. Even the ones who claim they don't believe in energy feel it instinctively. They don't understand why they get uneasy around you. They don't understand why their stories fall apart mid-sentence. They don't understand why their expressions feel heavier under your gaze. It's because your calm becomes a mirror, reflecting the truth they didn't want revealed. Your presence becomes a filter, showing the parts they hoped you'd never notice. And the most interesting part? You're not trying to unsettle anyone. You're just listening, deeply, quietly, intentionally. But people who hide pieces of themselves dislike being around someone who listens with their whole awareness. Because when you're near, every disguise gets heavy. Every hidden motive becomes visible. Every false layer starts to dissolve. And they begin revealing exactly who they've been trying not to be. Some avoid you. Some over-explain. Some mask their unease with humor. But all of them reveal the same thing. You see more than they wanted you to. That's the thing about someone who truly knows. Your intuition isn't loud. It's precise. It doesn't announce concerns. It recognizes patterns. It doesn't expose people. It remembers them. And it honors what it remembers. That's why you stopped handing out repeated chances. That's why you stopped overlooking obvious signals. That's why you feel the shift in someone long before they speak it. You've moved beyond believing words. You measure alignment. You read actions. You sense the subtle disconnects. You notice when someone's energy dips at your growth. You notice when their tone changes around your confidence. You notice when someone's unease slips through their laugh. This is why people call you the one who knows. Because you navigate life like you're reading hidden notes in every moment. You hear what wasn't spoken. You feel what they tried to cover. You understand what they hoped you wouldn't detect. You're not imagining things, you're aware. And awareness is the ability they feared you'd develop. They still think you're responding to what comes out of their mouth. They don't realize you're responding to what shows itself in their presence. Because you're not decoding their sentences. You're decoding their frequency. And frequency never lies. That's why some people act unsettled around you now. Their energy becomes uneven. Their voice shifts. Their confidence thins. Because they understand you're not reacting to the performance. You're sensing the truth. You're not focused on appearances. You're not moved by exaggerated confidence. You're not swayed by loud personalities. You're connected to something deeper, something intuitive, something older than words. You're tuned into intention, and intention is the one thing no one can polish, no matter how impressive they try to look. You've always felt this. That subtle pull in your chest when someone's story didn't align. That quiet tension that whispered, "Be mindful." That sudden heaviness when someone wanted something from you but didn't say it. You used to ignore it. You used to doubt yourself. You used to think you were being too cautious. Not anymore. Somewhere along the path, after the disappointments, the blind sides, the quiet lessons, you stopped dismissing your intuition. You began trusting it like a guide. You realized energy remembers what words try to forget. You realized patterns always repeat. And now you walk with a kind of clarity that sees intention long before behavior reveals it. You learn that people reveal themselves twice. First through their behavior, then through the moment they become uneasy because you noticed. And now you move through situations with an awareness most people never develop. You can feel when a compliment is really comparison. You can tell when support is actually observation. You can hear the difference between care and control. You can sense when someone's presence shifts at your progress. And the interesting part is, you don't challenge them about it. You don't need to. Your intuition isn't for conflict. It's for clarity. It's for direction. It's for keeping your spirit steady in a world full of mixed intentions. So you step back quietly. You adjust your access gracefully. You protect your inner space without making announcements. And this calm precision unsettles people because they don't know what your intuition caught. They don't know what your awareness concluded. They don't know what their own presence revealed to you without their words changing at all. That's why they behave unpredictably around you. That's why they speak differently. That's why they monitor your reactions like they're waiting for confirmation of something they can't explain. Your intuition lifts truth to the surface without you doing anything. People rarely worry about someone who speaks loudly. They worry about someone who pays attention. They worry about someone who observes without responding. They worry about someone who listens between the lines. And that's you. The one who sees the motive before the movement. The one who senses the shift before the explanation. The one who recognizes misalignment before it turns into a lesson. You didn't choose this ability. Life shaped it into you, and now it's the strongest force in every room you enter. Because when someone with perception like yours shows up, everything unclear becomes clear. You didn't intend to influence the room, but your awareness naturally reveals what doesn't belong. And some people feel that, even if they try to hide it. That's why conversation slows when you arrive. That's why people who are overly loud begin speaking softly. That's why even the ones who don't favor you maintain respect around you. It's not fear, it's recognition. Recognition that your intuition has never been off. Recognition that you sense what others miss. Recognition that you move from clarity instead of confusion. You step into the scene and the scene adjusts. Because your presence isn't noise, it's alignment. And alignment always influences whatever isn't steady. That's why certain people shift the moment you appear. They don't know how to manage someone whose presence feels like clarity standing in the doorway. They feel their confidence hesitate. Their stories wobble. Their smiles tighten. Because your energy reads the room before you even sit down. You didn't choose this awareness. Life taught it to you. Every silent disappointment became part of your understanding. Every unexpected shift became part of your perception. And now you move with a sense of precision few people ever reach. You learn to sense the atmosphere the way others sense the temperature. You learn to read intention the way others read signs. You learn that silence often contains the entire explanation, and you've mastered that language quietly. That's why some people can't look at you directly, not because you're intense, but because you're accurate. You see through masks they thought were perfect. You hear the uncertainty behind their confidence. You feel the comparison they try to hide behind a smile. You notice the shift in their energy even when their words stay polished. You're not relying on guesswork. You're relying on experience, and experience refined you. Moments that were supposed to overwhelm you ended up sharpening you. Times you stood alone became the training that shaped your insight. That's why you don't need explanations now, because you recognize patterns. You trust your instincts. You follow the truth your awareness reveals. And people sense this the second you walk in. They sense that you're not influenced by noise. They sense that you don't respond out of insecurity. They sense that you're calm because you understand more than they realize. And that calm presence makes them adjust. It makes them reevaluate their tone. It makes them rethink their intentions. Because people may trust someone loud, but they always become careful around someone perceptive. Your quiet isn't empty. It's observant. Your silence isn't passive. It's intentional. And that intention shapes your entire environment. That's why opportunities align for you. That's why misleading situations fall apart before reaching you. That's why you often feel guided away from the wrong people and toward the right places. Your intuition isn't just protection, it's direction. You move with understanding instead of urgency. You move with purpose instead of panic, and life responds to that. So when people react strangely around you, let them. You're not supposed to be understood by those who haven't grown at your level. You're meant to influence the room without saying a word. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be aligned with the few who can meet you at your level. People who haven't grown like you will always misread your calm. They will think you're distant when you're focused. They will think you're uninterested when you're simply observing. They will think you're cold when you're protecting your peace. Let them. Your elevation isn't meant to fit their expectations. It's meant to reshape your path. And when you step fully into that truth, the room shifts before you speak. You're not supposed to move like everyone else. You're supposed to move with intention, with internal clarity, with an awareness that doesn't need noise to make a point. So when they react, overthink, whisper, or suddenly act careful around you, that's their spirit acknowledging your growth. They can feel it before they can explain it. They adjust because your presence highlights the difference between their noise and your direction. You don't blend in anymore. You redefine the atmosphere simply by being yourself. People treat you differently now because they finally understand who you are. Not the version they created, not the version they assumed, the real one, the one who sees deeply, moves wisely, and listens with intention. You're not responding to their words, you're responding to their energy. You're not reacting to their behavior. You're recognizing their patterns. You're not impressed by loud gestures. You respect consistency, and that clarity, makes people hesitate before speaking your name, because they know you no longer operate on surface-level assumptions. And that's why the truth travels with you now. Truth follows you, filters your environment, and reveals what doesn't match your frequency. You didn't force anything. You aligned yourself so steadily that anything not meant for you simply stepped out of the way. Their hidden intentions weren't revealed to harm you. They were revealed to free you from illusions, from mismatched energy, from connections built on uncertainty. Because the next chapter you're walking into is built on honesty, direction, and authentic presence. Only real energy can meet you there. Only aligned intentions can stay near you there. Only clarity can walk beside you there. Truth is clearing your path without you lifting a finger. You don't need to confront anyone. You don't need to decode anyone. You simply need to keep moving steadily, calmly, and purposefully. Let people react. Let them rethink. Let them adjust. Your direction is already set, because truth did the refining. Clarity did the sorting, and you did the growing. Now all you have to do is continue forward. Every shift you made was intentional. Every moment of distance was alignment. Every quiet choice you made was growth. The ones who drifted were never meant to understand your evolution. They were meant to reveal what you no longer needed to carry. And now, you walk with a certainty that whispers louder than any explanation. You're not fragile. You're focused. You're not guarded. You're grounded. You're not avoiding anyone. You're honoring yourself. And people feel that shift the second you're near. That's why everything that once unsettled you now strengthens you. The people who changed on you were never part of your long path. The silent exits were direction, not loss. The uncomfortable transitions were guidance, not rejection. Nothing that left you took anything essential with it. You were being cleared, refined, upgraded. You weren't losing connections. You were losing interference. And now you're stepping into a version of yourself that moves with clarity instead of emotion. And that changes everything. You're not the same person they remember. Your glow is different. Your calm is deeper. Your silence carries understanding instead of confusion. People sense that your awareness has sharpened. They sense that you're not easily influenced anymore. They sense that your presence carries a level of stability they can't shake, and it makes them cautious, curious, even humbled, because you're no longer reacting, you're responding. You're no longer guessing, you're knowing. You're no longer tolerating, you're choosing. That's why they pause when you're near, why they watch without speaking, why they treat your presence with care. You carry wisdom now, the kind you only gain by living through things no one else saw. You carry insight, the kind that hears truth long before words form. You carry resilience, the kind that builds itself quietly until one day it becomes undeniable. They feel all of that, even if they don't understand it. Because once someone evolves the way you did, they don't return to who they were. They move forward with purpose, with peace, with clarity. And you have become that person.